Good day everyone. My name is John Ivan F. Plange, grade 11 student, St. John. Our topic for today is all about hyperbola, standard form of equation. So first, what is hyperbola? Hyperbola is consisting of two branch opening like this and this opening. So independently in opposite direction. So, maghiwalay siyang ganyan. And always symmetric about principal axis. Sorry sa drawing ko, but it's symmetric. So, first, application in real life. So, you'll see that we are familiar with this design, especially kung basketball player ka. Yung bola, design sa bola, hyperbola. Satellite, hyperbola. Ano pa ba? Basket, hyperbola. So, yun. Principal axis. So, what is principal axis of hyperbola? Principal axis in hyperbola is the line that passes through foci. Always hit hyperbola exactly 2 points or vertex. So, which means the principal axis here is x-axis. Here, passes through the foci, vertex, x-axis. Sulat natin. Yan. So, transverse axis, which means 2a. Well, a means the distance between the center and the vertex. So, here's the a, 2a, which means to find the transverse vertex, transverse axis, 2a. So, ibig sabihin kung given ng a times 2, that's the transverse axis. So, conjugate axis, 2b, which means the b here, 2b. So, any value of b times 2, that's the conjugate axis. So, let's move to properties of hyperbola. When far away from the center, the hyperbola behave almost aligned. So, diretsyon pa ganon, diretsyon pa ganon. Okay? So, latus rectum. Latus rectum is the chord through focus perpendicular to the transverse axis. So, to find the latus rectum, 2b squared over a. So, 2b squared over a. So, any value of b squared, then times 2 divided by 8, that's the latus rectum. So, again, for the short, before going to solution, we must memorize the part. So, A is the distance between the center to the vertex. B is the distance between the vertices to the center. So, and C, or we all know that F is the distance between the center to the focus or foci. Okay? So, now let's move to standard equation of hyperbola with the center of origin. Okay? So, the given formula here is the standard equation formula with the center at the origin. So, if the origin is not the center, that's another case. So, first, C is always greater than A and B. So, meaning to say, to find B, we must remember this equation. Square root of C squared minus A squared. Okay, so now let's move to standard form of equation with the center at the origin. So here is the pattern when it is x-axis and y-axis. So x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is equals to 1. So here is the y squared over a squared plus x squared over b squared is equals to 1. Okay, remember this pattern and formula. So to give you an idea, I have two examples here for standard form equation in center at the origin. Good morning. To give you an idea, here's example how to solve the standard equation in the center of the origin. So with the coordinates of positive negative 6 over 0 and the foci is positive negative 7 over 7 0. So to find, remember I said before that A is the distance between the center and the vertices. So the vertex here, the given coordinates is 6. 6 is the distance between the vertices and the center. We all know that the center is the origin, which means the center is 0 over 0. That's the coordinates of the center. So we all know that C is the distance between the center and the foci. So the given foci here is 7, which means automatically the C is 7. Okay, so the missing here is B. So to find B, remember that B, okay, B is equals to C squared minus A squared. So B is equals to 49 minus 36. So 49 minus 36 is equals to 13. So B is equals to 13, square root of 13. So to get the value of the square root of 13, we must calculate. So 49 over 36, 3, 4 minus 3, 13. So what is the square root of 13? Three point 3.6 square root of 13. So mean to say the B here is 3.6. So okay, we find A, we find B, we find C. Also with now we identify the A, we can also identify the vertices. So which means that the vertices here is six, 0 and negative 6, 0. The vertices given. Now foci, for the foci, with the given value, with the given coordinates of foci, automatically that is 7, 0 and negative 7, 0. Now we all identify this. We can identify the transverse axis, the conjugate axis, and the latus rectum. So first, the transverse axis. What is the transverse axis? The transverse axis, remember, is 2A, which means which means that transverse 2A, which means any value of A times 2 is equals to transverse axis. So 2 times 6 is equals to 12. That's the transverse axis. So now conjugate axis 2B. So 2 times 3.6 is equals to, wait a minute, 7.2. So the conjugate axis is 7.2 because 2 times solve muna natin conjugate. So 2b 2 times 3.6 is equals to 7.2. Now we identify all the missing terms that we need to identify. Let's move to formulation of a standard equation and sketching the graph. Okay? For the latus rectum, okay? So the formula for identifying the latus rectum is 2b squared over a here. So which means that 2 times b squared, I simplify the given equation. So e squared 3.6 times 3.6 is equals to 12.96. So over 6. So we must multiply the 2 to 12.96, which is 25.92. So 12.92 over 6. Okay, 12.92 divided by 6 is equals to 4.32. Okay, so the latus rectum of the given equation is 4.32. Okay, after we find the latus rectum, okay, which is 4.3 something, we graph the given coordinates. So A is the distance between the vertex and the center. So A is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the A. Also negative 6. This is the A, negative 6. Now C is the distance between the focus and the center, which is 7. Here's the 7. And here's the negative 7. So B, distance between the vertices and the and the center. So B, 3.6 something. So nasa middle siya ng 3 and 4. So 3.6, yan. Now we find all the given. Now we plot all the given coordinates. So let's graph. There's something that help us to graph the hyperbola, which is the asymptote. So from the B to the vertex here, okay, asymptote. Got rectangle, 3 by 6 something, rectangle. Now we have the rectangle. Okay, dadaan siya sa center. cross ng konti. So, cross naman. Now we have the asymptone. So, I don't know kung kita ba or what. Now we have the asymptone. So, remember, when plotting the hyperbola, a hyperbola can close to asymptone, but hindi sila pwedeng magdikit. So, to understand what I'm trying to say, here's the vertex, remember, which is a -6 and +6. So, here, hyperbola. Okay, and here, okay, now we have the hyperbola of the given equation. So, para mas makita nyo ng here's the closest form. Remember, hindi sila pwedeng magdikit ni asymptone at nung guhit nung sa parabola, yung curve. Okay? So, now, the final answer is x squared over 36 because a squared, 6 times 6, 36. And y squared over 13, so 3.6 square root 13 is equals to 1. Now, this is the answer for standard form of equation in the center origin. Now let's move to standard equation with finding the given of center. So to give you an idea, I have lots of examples. Actually, one example that's suited for standard form of equation in finding the center. So let's start. Now we have the example of standard general equation into standard form equation with the center without the origin. So, mean to say, we must find the coordinates of the center of a given function or of a given coordinates. So, first, wait a minute. Okay, first we must equate them into 1. So, mean to say, the 576 here, let's divide by itself by 576, divide by this by 576, and divide by this by 576. Okay, 16, 576, 36, negative 9, 576 is 64. So, final year 1. So, now we have the standard form of equation. So, x minus 2 over 36 and minus y plus 4 over 64 is equals to 1. Now we have this standard form of equation. So now we change the given examples to standard form, which is x minus 2 squared over 36 minus y plus 4 squared over 64 is equals to 1. Now we can identify the a, b, and h and k of the center. So first, the a, square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 64, 8. So the missing here is c. So before finding the c, we must find the center, which is the center is h and k. So here's the h and here's the k. So the center, or the given value of the center, is 2 and negative 4. That's the center. Now, to find C, we all know that C is greater than A and B. So, C squared over A squared plus B squared. So, C squared over 36 plus 64 is equals to 100. Square root of 100 is 10. So, C is 10. So, to find the transverse axis, remember, 2A, which is any given value of A times 2 is equals to transverse axis. So, 2 times 6 is equals to 12. Conjugate axis is 2B, and the value of B times 2 is, that conjugate axis is 2 times 8 is 16. So, remember, for the latus rectum, 2B squared over A, which means 2 times 6, 2 times 64, which means the B squared is 8 times 8, 64, over 6. So, 128 over 6. So, the final answer is, or the latus rectum of hyperbola is 21.3. The vertices of the given equation or general form into standard form is vertex 8, since the center, since the coordinate of the center is 2 and negative 4, the vertexes adjust. So 8, negative 4, B prime, negative 4, negative 4, B 2, 4, B prime 2 and negative 12, foci 12, negative 4, and negative 8 and negative 4. Now we plot this given coordinates. So here we plot this given coordinates. So B center, which is 2 and negative 4, V vertex, B prime, foci, okay, we plot them with this given values of coordinates. So let's trace the graph and draw the hyperbola. So from the center, which is 2 and negative 4, we draw a rectangular for asymptone. Yeah. Asymptone. Now we have the rectangular form. We must draw, actually it called auxiliary rectangle. So now we have the auxiliary rectangle, we must draw the asymptone. Okay, from the center, tatago siya sa center, tatama sa center. Yan. We have the asymptone. So, hindi nyo makita. Ayan. Remember the definition of asymptone. Close siya sa graph pero hindi siya pwedeng magdikit. Hindi siya tatama sa asymptone. So, to give you idea, here, from B prime, taas ng ganyan, hindi siya tatama sa asymptone. Okay, yan. Oh. Also here, hindi siya tatama sa asymptone. Yan. We have the parabola of a given equation. Okay? Hi guys, thank you for joining me to learn about standard form of equation of hyperbola, and I hope you learned something from me. Bye-bye.